Good afternoon, Karen Hernandez here. I want to go over some modifications for the strategies that I had came up with for the interventions that I'm using. The student I'm working with right now is having trouble with decoding regularly spelled CVC words, reading independently, and having difficulty completing simple sentences. So I'm just going to stick with strategies for those interventions. And we can move on to different strategies later on. Um, One modification for this intervention is to go ahead and use that visual for sounding out the CVC words. So I'm going to put a picture of the cat right here, and then we're going to turn over one tile at a time. So we'll turn it over, and we'll sound out that letter sound. Do that a few times. Then we'll turn over the next one. Ah, ah, ah. And then we'll go to the last one. So then we'll say it together. At, cat. Okay, after we had a little practice with that, I'm going to switch it. And then I will use a different picture card with different tiles, and we'll do that a few times. Also, with the CVC words, I introduced a game called Bookland. You play it just like Candyland, except you use your own cards. I had added some sight words in my last strategy, but since I'm only working with CVC for this student, I'm just going to put CVC words to play this game. I'll have maybe 7 or 10 cards that we can work with for the week. And then later on, I can add some sight words or other words. But right now, I just want to stick with this so she can master those goals that we're working on. As far as helping her with simple sentences, okay, this time my modification is to give her 3 picture cards to look at. And then she's going to come up with a sentence just by looking at the picture. Well, I see a boy and a girl looking at a cake. And then she can tell me, what does she say? What sentence can you come up with that? Now, the sentence that came with this package says, they wanted some cake. And I can read these to her, which we do, but I'm also interested to see what she would come up with. And the same with the other 2 cards. I'm only going to use 3 cards. We're going to do this for a little while, and then later on, as she progresses, then I'll add in the 4th card, and then later on the 5th card. Okay, but I'm sticking with my visuals. And then, after we do that, then we could go ahead and make sentences using cards without pictures on it. So, eventually, she'll come up with her own words and sentences, but until she learns the words, she needs to look at the cards, and I can have her put them in order, actually. Like my cat eye. I can ask, okay, well, does that sentence make sense? Okay, well, let's turn it around. Let's see what we can do to make it make sense. And then we'll flip them around a little bit. I, my, like cat. Does that make sense? They'll tell you yes or no, and you keep doing it till you get the right one. I like my cat. Does that sentence make sense? Yes. Good job. As far as reading independently, my modification for this strategy is to have them choose their own book. I'm not going to give them a whole bunch of books. I'll give them 3 or 4 books. Because when students get to choose their own book, it makes them more interested in reading it. So we're going to have the student choose the book, and then since she's struggling with that, all of the 3 or 4 books I give her to choose from are all going to be picture books. So we have the picture with the words, and then after she gets through that, then we can go on reading without pictures. But in the beginning, she's struggling enough where she needs pictures to match the words. And I always tell them, the pictures help us with the words when we get stuck. So we will practice that. But another modification is we do want to chart how many words the child is reading correctly per minute. But this chart makes them responsible. They're more independent. They get to choose. This one reads, my goal is to read blank words per minute. I want to meet my goal by. So, and I find when students become responsible for their work, it encourage them to want to push and work a little harder. And then you can give them a store, some type of incentive, any thing that works for that child. And then I wanted to modify, or I should say add, a CVC word wall. Just as I had said, sometimes the kids need to look at the words to put them in a sentence. It will help if I had a word wall. Usually we have a word wall with sight words in the classroom, which is fine. I'll have that as well. But I'll have one just for CVC words for the students that get stuck with these words. And then we can add into it later on and rhyme. Okay, well, here's our CVC words. Now, we know at. Well, who can tell me what rhymes with cat? What if I take that C away and made it a B? So now they're learning another CVC word, and I can go ahead and add that one to our CVC word wall. And we'll work on this daily until it's all filled up and they learned enough for CVC words. Okay, well, those are my modifications. Thank you for listening and have a blessed day. Bye-bye.